So, yeah, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you all for joining this afternoon. My name is Stephen Thompson. I'm one of the community managers at the Data Lab community. It's good to see so many of you here this afternoon as we continue the theme of data visualization. Data visualization is a really popular topic within the community, and we tend to cover it every year, and it's always incredibly well attended. So thank you all for joining. Really excited to have George Corbineau here today. George is going to be talking to us about the skills that you might need if you're looking to get into data visualization, as well as some of the tools that are available if it's something that you're looking to pursue. As I mentioned, today's session is part of the Data Lab community. So if you are already a member, do me a little favor, just post in the chat and say hello if you're already a member of the community. If not, hopefully by the end of today, you'll consider joining. The Data Lab community is an online community platform for anybody who is interested in data and AI, whether you're a student, an academic, a professional, whether you're 20 years into your career, or you just got started a couple of weeks ago. Regardless of where you are on the journey, the Data Lab community is for you. We have online kind of chat rooms and kind of forums. We run regular events. We run webinars, in-person meetups. We have a jobs board and a mentorship scheme as well that's totally free to use. So if you're looking to keep up to date with what's going on in data and AI and connect with other people with similar interests, definitely recommend that you join. It's completely free to join, and you can do so just by scanning the QR code that should be on your screen at the moment. But don't worry, I'll also post a link to the login to the sign up page in the chat as well. So that's enough for me. I would like to just introduce you to George Corbineau. George is a data visualization specialist at Moody's Corporation. He's also an experimenter and is always excited about building bespoke stories with data. So over to you, George.
Hey, let's go. Okay, let me share. Here you go. I believe everyone should be able to see my slides. Let me check the chat.
That's coming through now. It just says starting soon at the
Yeah,
moment.
great. Well, let's go.
Perfect.
Thank you. Welcome everyone. Yes, I'm George. As I've been just presented, obviously it's ringing right now. Anyway, so I'm going to do data to visuals crafting impact with specialized tools. And I would like to give you some context about why I believe this presentation has, this presentation has some meanings to me. So I'm a data visualization specialist, but a few years ago, when I've graduated from here, not too far from here, I had a big interest in data visualization, but at the same times, I came from a more like IT computer science background. So I knew you could do data visualization while coding. And I had knowledge about all the best practices around data visualization. So maybe you go pen and paper first, you design, you do some mockups, iterations, and so on. So, but it was really like computer science oriented, coding everything from scratch. So I had, thanks to the Data Lab actually, my first internship in Edinburgh, where I had to do data visualization for the internship I had. So my goal was to build a dashboard, coding all the way in for the main app. And I've met analysts there that were using all the tools that what I would be using to build their own visualization and report and so on. And I was finding that interesting. I was like, something different that I haven't learned at uni. To me, it was just coding, and bam, I'm here, and suddenly I see people doing data visualization another way. So what I was doing. So I was like, okay, fine. So using this, this exists. It's new to me. Maybe I can try. I was trying it out. It wasn't really what I was looking for several reasons. But it was there, fine. After this internship, I jumped to another job in France, more as a data engineer. So it was more technical involved, trying to take the data, process it into something else, and then at the end, visualizing it And again, there, I was using other tools that were related to data viz, but at the same time that I had never used before. Some of them were common with the internship I had. And all this kind of opened my eyes about, okay, people are doing data visualization, but there are so many different ways that I wasn't aware of and that I probably would have wanted to know while starting. So I wasn't really happy about the way I had to do data visualization at that job because I wanted to be really able to custom and to be free into what I was doing without having to hack my way into the different tools that I had in my hands. So I was like, I really want to code. So I changed job and I got a space in a team of data journalists in London a few years ago. And once again, journalists writing articles, super fast paced, super exciting as well. But again, they were using different tools to do their data visualization. So I'm like, well, again, I need to learn something new. Hopefully my goal within the team was to still code and do really the bespoke things for the journalists, but they were using something different. So that I had to learn and understand how it works, to be able to integrate that into my workflow and maybe redirect when someone's coming to me. It's like, maybe you can use this tool that you have that is nice instead of asking me, as it's going to take less time. And finally now, so I'm data visualization specialist at Moody's. We do data stories, which are all bespoke. There's nothing, we don't use predefined tools for at least the final result. Everything is coded by hand. Obviously, sometimes it goes through library and so on, but it's really like web directed, JavaScript. I can name libraries, but it doesn't really make sense at that point. If you are curious, feel free to ask any question. And just create bespoke things. That's what I wanted to do. That's where I am right now. I'm super happy. So around all of this time, I got to see many different people using many different things to build what they do, to do what they do. And that's something I haven't learned at uni and that I think makes sense for an early career to see the full scope of what's available and why are people using these things. And that's why we're here. So first of all, I would like to focus on the result of a survey led by the Data Visualization Society within the State of the Industry survey that they're running every year. It's worldwide, but the results are mostly from US people. And the question was, what problems do you encounter when you're trying to use data visualization tools? And here is a top 10. The tools not being the best fit for the task, inadequate customizability of the tools, sharing limitations, costs, an important one. Tools cannot easily integrate with other tools, and so on. If I had to pick some of them that I find interesting, the tools not being the best fit for the task is an important one that I'm probably going to couple with limitation of the tools, and the tools cannot easily integrate with other tools. One of the big challenge when you pick something is that the output, the deliverable at the end, you're using your tool, at the end, you want the output to fit what you're trying to deliver, which is not always the case. An example could be I'm using Excel to build a chart, but at the end of the day, I want to publish on a web page. Well, maybe it's possible, but you probably need to hack your way in or use something super bespoke to be able to do that. If you want to have something interactive, but you can, I mean, right now you're using drawing softwares and so on. maybe you can do that, but it's going to take so much time to implement. And that's where you need to maybe pick something else. Something else I want to highlight, cost and or license issue with the tool. That's an important one. Now, all tools are free. You often have free alternatives that works more or less the same way, but that's something to keep in mind. The big license tools, usually when you go into companies that are using these tools, it's a company license, so you don't have to pay from your pocket. And usually as a user, a single user, you also have free trials or a free way to get to learn the tools, because that's as a company perspective, saying a tool, it makes more sense to let you try and learn. The tools have for security of governance, also an important one. If you're looking to join like a super secure company, a company that is super secure about the data, they're not going to use certain tools because the data will be hosted on the tools, maybe in the cloud of the provider of the tool. So some tools may not be used for that. So that's something to look for. You can even just by ask or see the job opportunities for that company and so on. And finally, the tool is hard to learn. Something that we need to keep in mind is not everyone has the time to learn something new and super difficult. Maybe I want to learn how to code my visuals because I want the freedom. But at the same time, if it's going to take me 6 months, a year to get to that point, and I just want to do bar chart and line charts, maybe I should just pick Excel. So there's a big time component there. If I had to summarize and go what to consider when picking a tool, I will go along these 4 different points. What type of deliverable I am trying to do. You have a lot of different types of deliverables like you can think of. You obviously have the static ones, a static chart, just as something you want to share in a presentation, for example, or that you want to integrate into a document. You have just like maybe something on a web page that is interactive. Maybe something you need or want to print on paper. Maybe it's for social media, something you want to share about a product that you're going to advertise online, and you want to do an infographics about it. So you take a slightly different angle to create that asset. Maybe it's something within a video. So yeah, think about that. What type of deliverable are you committing to? What is the best tool for that deliverable? How much customization do I need? Really important questions. Some tools make it easy to create charts, but at the same time, make it difficult to customize what you're trying to do. Maybe you're creating your chart for your company, and your company has really strict brand guidelines. But the issue is the tools you're using is really tricky and hacky, or maybe just not possible to create your own thing, respecting the guideline of your brand using that tool. So that's something to take a look at. Usually by just trying out and realizing that, well, actually I cannot do this fancy thing on my charts. So maybe I should use something else. How much time do I have to create an asset? Also really important. We need to keep in mind that, yes, it's going to take time to learn the tools you're going to use, but at the same time, something else is data visualization is probably not the primary thing of your job in some case. If I'm an analyst, creating chart is not my full-time job. So maybe I just need 15 minutes to create my line chart, plugging it into my PowerPoint, and I can call it a day. So that's something to take into account. Because if you code everything, or if you go through super complex software and you need the months to create a chart, that's probably in some cases not the right solution. And finally, how easy is it to use the tool you picked? And we go back to what I was mentioning before. If you know the tool, it's great. If you don't know it and you need to submit something shortly, maybe there's something you can pick something you know so that you can go through and publish. So may seem obvious, but that's something I would consider when picking something that you know. So on one side, you have all of the data visualization guidelines about accessibility, about colors, building something nice, something that you know and that you're going to transpose into your visual, regardless of the tool you're using. And on the other side, you have what it takes to know, okay, I need the tools that do that. This is my deliverable. This is how much customization in the style guidelines that I need to follow. So I have everything in my head, at least, to be able to create what I'm looking for. So what I'm going to do right now in this presentation is try to pick some job categories that I've seen. These categories, I picked them. There's nothing scientific behind it. But I believe this group are using the same kind of tools for the same kind of reason. But I'm surely missing a lot of different type of jobs. So yeah, be aware that it's just categories that I made it up myself. So analysts and leaderships are probably the people that are building data visualization the most. It's mostly internal things. As I was mentioning, you create your stuff in Excel, bang it into PowerPoint, and suddenly you have a chart that you can present. Also, analysts often have a technical background into like using these tools, so they have proficiency. Maybe they have they know some code, and they need to work on data, crunch it to build something. Could be dashboard, could be static visual, could be something more complex that they're gonna share internally. They may share it externally, but I believe that it's a special case. Mostly it's about sharing it internally or maybe to a client. So the tools that, I'm seeing a lot is, create this type of static charts. So I'm going to mention Excel and PowerPoint. Know that these screenshots are Excel and PowerPoint, but you obviously have other options. I can think of Google Sheet. I can think there is an open source, I believe, suite called LibreOffice. That is basically the same as the Microsoft package, but free. Yeah, so I believe a lot of you know Excel, really powerful tool. I strongly believe that most of the, like per day, most of the data visualization created is probably just Excel and PowerPoint. If you know how to deal with crunching your numbers within Excel and just creating a chart afterwards that you can share with someone, that's usually how it goes. The good thing is you get to do everything within Excel, all the numbers, you put them there, and you can play with them the way you want. And the tool provides you the capabilities of doing your chart from there. You don't need to import the data anywhere. You do have customization capabilities, but it can get hacky if you're trying to get something really, really specific. And also, if you don't hack your way in, you have a limited number of options. So you have bar chart, line charts, and more stack layout, and so on. But if you're trying to build something really specific, it's going to really specific like a sunburst chart. It's going to be really difficult, but it does a job for analysts and leaderships and static charts. Then comes dashboards, another thing that I would see a lot. So another type of visual, something you can interact with. The goal here is again, to share information about the data that the company has, but in a way that is more interactive and that people can play with. Yeah, like people can play with. It usually takes more time to put in place, and sometimes you also need like an engineer or developer to, if you're using live data, to plug the data to the software. The software usually requires a license as well, so usually a company thing. But as a user, you can yeah, just try it out and see how it goes. I would say that the two main tools that I've seen, again, you have a lot of other options, but the one I've seen are Tableau and PowerBI. These two are great options. Again, you plug your data, you configure everything, clicking on buttons, trying out, shifting data, and so on. But at the same time, again, you have quite limited options. If you need to build something super bespoke, it's going to be tricky. I'm not saying that you cannot do it, but it's definitely going to involve either some coding, or trying to import some plugins to do the job for you, which can be frustrating sometimes. My experience of it as someone that knew how to code, so it's something personal, is that I was fine using these tools to build something like exploring the data. It was really, really good. But when I wanted to build something, I had always to find all of the 1 million options to be able to build exactly what I wanted. And it could be frustrated sometimes to not find the exact things that you're trying to go for. But again, that's my personal experience, and people who loved it. And last one, more complex shapes. So often, again, statisticians know a coding language. So it could be R, could be Python, could be something else. And you have libraries that can help you to build something really custom. I'm going to mention two of them today. I'm going to mention R and ggplot. If you have ggplot2 as well, and Python matplotlib, but you have a lot of different libraries and options. So the good thing here is, again, some of the analysts are using data within, coding it through it to analyze and crunch it and see what's inside, and being able to code your way in and do something visually within directly your tool. May take more time to learn these libraries and these languages, but you get high customization capabilities within the libraries that you're using. So there might be some learning curve to learn how to use these ones, but at the same time, it kind of pays off. Second category is designers and artists. So we focused on the people building internal resources and crunching the data internally, but at some point the data is going out to share with the client or with public, and we go through designers. I'm mentioning artists as well because they're often using the same kind of tools. So the thing is, okay, you've created your static asset, let's say, but you want to go next step and add nice, super nice annotations. Maybe you want to have something that isn't data related into your graphic, something nice and artsy. And it's going to be very difficult if you need to code it. The intuitive way of doing it would be probably to draw something by hand. And this is where we have, so that's an example of something that could be created by a designer. So if you want to draw something by hand, you're probably going for tools like Illustrators, Photoshop, from the Adobe suite. You do have online tools to do that as well, that are free, not needing a license, to do that by hand again. So you can see on the image on the left, you have a nav tool with a lot of picking options, making it available for you to create your own shapes on top of the visual. You have ways of exporting what you've created into a different format. So usually it's a static image, but I've seen people using Illustrator extracting what they've done into something that a web page would understand. And that's a nice way to get your visual online, which is a nice thing to consider when sharing your work. Next one, data journalists. So again, something that needs to be published externally, but opposite to the designers and artists, data journalists may not have the time to spend into creating their visuals. It's like super fast-paced, writing articles, several articles a week. You have data, you need to publish something quickly. How do you do that? Well, and you also need to integrate it on the web page. So there's a lot of technicalities that a data journalist may not want to consider. And this is usually what the end result looks like. So you scroll through your page and then suddenly you see a nice map, a nice whatever chart on the web page, and you're like, oh, that's nice. And that's a nice addition to the article. And it often says a lot more than words. But how do they do that? Well, I believe the two main competitors are Data Wrapper and Flourish, which are two online tools that you can drop your data into, check, and put title, subtitle, colors. Often, if your company has a license, then all the branding is in there already as you log in, so that you don't have to care about that. You just need to have your data into a format that the tool is going to understand. So maybe you have some processing to do before. You pick your chart, you have a lot of boxes. Again, you have limited number of options, but the tools, as they grow up, have more and more and more chart options. So that's not something as a journalist that I would be really worried about. All the simple things that your public's going to understand visually. So many options, and then you click on publish, and then the magic happens. You just get 2 lines of code that you can inject into your page, and you're going to have your chart into your article once you publish it. There's a lot of technicalities happening here, and these tools makes it really easy to publish charts on the web. Usually within the data journalist teams, they also have 1 or 2 guys, or maybe another team that for bigger project will allow the newspaper to publish bigger projects, bigger visuals, and all of this is usually custom. And this is where we go to the last group of people, developers and engineers, are usually the ones that are going to want to get into something bigger, like linking live data, publishing into a very specific format on the web, or creating an app. So this is taking a lot of time, a lot of dedication, and also you're usually coding for that. So you do have, that's an example. If you want to go like a designer coding vibes, like go this way. If there is one library for the web, for developers and engineers that I want to mention, it's probably gonna be D3. So D3 is a JavaScript library. There's a lot of other chart libraries for JavaScript for the web, but I would say that most of them are probably based on D3. So it's always good to have at least a knowledge that it exists, or maybe what it can do. I believe that the big thing about D3 is that you're really in control about everything. It's not, you can really do everything about it. It's really easy to tweak or hack. It's called, I wouldn't call it hack. Your way into the library to do something really bespoke, and you have the interactivity straight away from the box and the web format for you, since it's in JavaScript, and a lot of control. it does take a lot of time to learn, and the learning curve can be quite harsh. But at the same time, it's a payoff because at the end, once you master it, you can really do everything you want. Accounting for how much time it's going to take. So it could be quick. If you do something simple, maybe don't use D3 because it's going to take you 2 weeks to do something that would take 15 minutes otherwise. Good. So let's conclude. So I've been through different sets of tools, different job groups. I believe most of them have free alternatives. And I believe once you pick your tool, you do have the resources online or maybe ChatGPT to help you to learn and go through. Having this knowledge would have helped me back then to lose less time when picking my job because I knew what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to code something for the web and do data visualization, but not knowing about what kind of tools were used and expected here and there made it difficult for me to find the right fit directly. Hopefully this presentation helps you to have an overview. Obviously, I'm missing a lot of different things, but I believe these are the main tools that I use today. What I would suggest to past me and maybe you is try to see what you want to do. You have all this knowledge about data visualization and you want to produce and create something. Try to see how much time you have to learn. Try to see how it's used in the industry about what you're trying to do. And pick your tool. Once you have it, if you're looking for a job in this specific sector, try to build a portfolio. So that's definitely going to help. That's definitely something that is going to be taking a look at. Can you do nice things with the tools that the company is already using? And more importantly, share what you're doing. Try to share online or with your friends or with anyone what you're doing so you get feedback about what you do and you can iterate and get better at what you're doing. It's not always easy. It's often like you're a bit shy and not sure, but that's definitely what's going to help you, which led to my last advice. You have your tool, you're producing stuff. Please join communities. This is what you're going to be able to share. This is how you're going to be able to learn. And this is where you're going to find people that have the same interests and are using the same tools as you and that are going to be able to share not only feedback, but also tips and tricks for you to get better and achieve what you're looking for. And on that, thank you.
Thank you, George. Thanks very much. That was really interesting. Can I just check that my audio is coming through okay? Because I've had a bit of a technical.
I can hear you.
Perfect. Cool. Yeah, so thanks very much, George. We've got quite a few questions come through. The first one I'll get to is from Maria, who's asking if you've had any experience with Python Seaborn, and if you have used it, how would you rate it?
So I've had limited experience with Seaborn, but I believe when I used it, it was in a really heavy data science context. So it was really about crushing data, do machine learning with Panda as well, manipulating your data. I mean, I feel like it's a great thing for, again, analysts building something simple and robust that is within Python. So you don't need to extract your data and put that somewhere else. In terms of how easy or how beautiful the level of customization you have, I haven't used it enough to be able to answer that. What I'm going to say is it's there, it's been there for a while, and I believe you can do a lot of things with it. So if you're already using Python and crunching your numbers in there, definitely keep doing that. And if you're not sure what's possible with Seaborn, maybe check on the web, try to find a community of people using Seaborn to see what's happening.
I guess the message that's come through is that there are loads of different tools that do lots of things, so you need to find the one that fits your needs best
Yeah.
and experiment a little bit and see what's available.
And find the people that are doing the same as you, because you're not alone.
Yeah, there's lots of people here who've had similar problems
Yes.
already who might be able to help you. So we've got quite a lot of people still here. So perhaps in the chat, does anybody want to post just what is your experience with data visualization? Trying to gauge a little bit of the level of people in here, just to see if are people in the chat, are we experienced data visualizers, or are people still kind of at the beginning of their journey? And meanwhile, there's still some more questions coming. So we've got a question from Barry. Barry's asking, how important is accessibility in the work that you do? Thinking here about people with color blindness and also blind people who may want an audio description of the visualization.
I mean, that's always something to consider. So in the work that I'm doing, we're not always perfect into, I'm thinking about accessibility for blind people. So that's something we're working on actually and actively. About color blindness and so on, that's always something that you consider while building what you're building. So I would say that today we've talked about the tools you can use, but the first thing is obviously the design around what you're creating, which is different from the tool you're using, hopefully. First, you have your idea and you try to draft everything that needs to be incorporated. So design, but also everything about accessibility, trying to make it the best it can be. And then you use your tool to create that. So in my personal work, that's definitely, and because we take a lot of time and we have design guidelines around accessibilities and colors and so on, that's definitely something that we always have a look at, or I have a look at when I'm building something.
Cool. Yeah, and Barry, this is a topic that came up at a webinar we did earlier in the week with Cara Thompson. It came up a couple of times throughout our presentation, so I definitely recommend checking that out as well if you're looking to find out a bit more. There was a couple of resources that Cara mentioned on her webinar. Okay, so we've got Sarah who's asking Sarah Casemiro, have you got any thoughts on Looker Studio? Is that something you've used? Would you recommend it for beginners?
I don't, unfortunately. I don't have experience with it. I've heard of it only. The only thing I can suggest is if that's something you're looking into, like you're interested in creating things because you think it's the right tool for what you're trying to do, try it out. But I personally have no feedback about this tool.
Fair enough, thank you. So then we've got Rachel asking, I'm interested in starting to learn about data visualization. Do you have any resources or books that you would recommend to start learning about the basic theory behind data visualization?
I do have that. I believe I was kind of expecting this question. So I do have a few. So I would say people to follow about basic data visualization guidelines would be Andy Kirk, Alberto Caro, Bill Shander. Have a look at them and what they've produced. They're heavily involved into making data visualization more accessible and easy to learn and so on. Now, in terms of books, do I have anything here? I don't actually, I'm sorry. Have a look at, there is a Data Visualization Society. If you type that online, you're gonna find it. And you do have book recommendations on the website or on the community channels that have this big list. Would be my advice.
Okay, cool.
Personal
Maybe
books?
we can send some. I'll get in touch with you after, George, and we can if you
Yeah,
send me those names,
I'm
we
happy
can
to
send
send a
those
list of
in
books.
an email afterwards. Yeah.
Just out of my head like this, I don't have the title.
No, fair enough.
Sorry about that.
Okay, cool. And then yeah, so someone's asking if you can put the resources in the chat. I think what we'll do is we'll gather the resources offline, and then we'll send them out in an email to everybody who's registered. So I'll speak to George afterwards, and we can
Yeah.
try and get a list of resources for you all. Okay, cool. Let me just see what else have we got here. Somebody's asking, do you have a GitHub account?
I do have a GitHub account, but all of my work is on the GitHub account, so you're not gonna be able to see it. So I'm happy to share. I do have one. The name of it is Grana here. J like George, RANAHIR. So you can find me there. But if you're interested into what I'm doing, and not the code part, but more about the stuff I publish, probably follow me on LinkedIn. That's probably the best way of seeing what I'm doing.
Again, we can post that in the follow-up email as well. So I'll get that
Yeah.
from you after, George. Okay, so we've got a question here. Someone's asking, and I think you will have covered this a little bit in your presentation anyway, but do you need to be able to code to work in data visualization?
Well,
in your opinion?
that's why I've made this presentation as well. The answer is no, which is great. Coding takes a lot of time because you need to learn how to code. That's not easy. And then you need to know whatever library you need to use. And it's going to take a lot of time as well. But you don't have to do that. I would say if you want to start data visualization and you know Excel, use that. It's everyone's using it. If not Excel, you probably have alternatives to that, Google Sheet or so on, that I've mentioned earlier, and do data visualization with that. When I was mentioning the data journalists, they often don't know how to code, but they have tools that they can just put the data in and then pick the colors and so on and have a result. Also, pen and paper. Pen and paper is amazing for personal charting thing. You have an ID, pen and paper, you have your data, you take your ruler, you build something. So definitely no, you don't need to know how to code to do data viz.
I guess I remember last year we did a session with you, George, and you spoke a lot about the different members of the team that are
Yeah.
in your team at Moody's, and kind of the different roles that people play. And I guess that some of them will be more creative and designers, and some will be more technical side of things.
Yeah, completely. You get to create something on paper, and then maybe you code it. Maybe you take the static assets they've created. No, you don't need to code.
Cool. So that's all. That pardon me. We've run out of questions now, so I think we will wrap up the session. So thanks very much, George, for taking the time to speak to us today. Just before we go, I'd just like to mention again that this theme, throughout November, the theme in the Data Lab community has been data visualization. Earlier in the week, we had a session with Cara Thompson. The recording for that is now up on YouTube, so check it out if you didn't come along on the day. We've also got a meetup next week in Edinburgh with Chris Westlake, who was the 2024 winner of the Tableau Iron Viz competition. Chris is going to be talking us through some of his processes and kind of some of the thinking behind how he builds data visualizations. The in-person event is sold out, but there is a live stream available. So if you'd like to tune into the live stream, check out on the Data Lab community, and you can sign up through there. As with anything with the Data Lab community, just check out the platform and you'll get updates for everything that we've got going on. So just wanted to say thanks again to you, George, for coming along, and thank you everybody for joining us. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.